if you have two parties and you have Roy over here who's dissatisfied with these two parties, and so he wants to run, let's say, to the right of this party or to the left of this party. He wants to run a more polarizing place than these two centrists. Well, let's say he's over here, so I use the right finger and don't offend a lot of people. If he's over here, all he's going to do is dilute the votes of this guy. He's going to take this guy out. He's going to end up with his most favorite of the two parties losing because he diluted his side of the political spectrum. Now, if you have a runoff election and this guy gets the fewest votes, now we have a runoff between these two, and so Roy can actually win the election. But you have to run two elections in order to get that done. Now, there are a lot of people saying, well, let's have ranked choice voting so everybody can select Roy as their second choice. The problem with ranked choice voting is that maybe nobody even knows that Roy exists until the first round of balloting happens. And then people go, oh, Roy got a lot of votes. He made it through the first round. And my favorite guy over here went out. And so maybe I should take a look at Roy. And so when we have multiple rounds of voting where everybody can do the elections multiple times, a dark horse like Roy can rise up and actually win an election that he wouldn't otherwise be able to win. Now, the problem is elections are very expensive in human effort. It takes a lot of time. People have to go to the polls. Today, we're using mail-in voting in the US largely. And so the government would have to print off a bunch of ballots and it would take a month, and it's just very expensive and very slow and very cumbersome. Now, if we could have electronic voting, we could have a runoff this morning. We could have an election this morning, and we could have a runoff this afternoon, and that would really be no problem. In fact, we could do multiple runoffs in a single day. We could have National Election Day. Everybody could take it off work, and we would just sit there and watch the balloting, and we would elect our leaders, and we could do that. But there's a very big problem with electronic voting: is who's going to trust electronic voting? We're trying to go back to paper ballots in the US right now because we don't trust the mail-in voting, and we don't trust the electronic voting, and we don't trust the electronic voting for good reason. It's very untrustworthy. There's this man in the middle, and the government or some private contractor or somebody is the man in the middle. Everybody submits their votes into this black box, and then some official stands up and says, well, we counted the votes, and guess what? I won again. I won again. Okay. And everybody says, well, how do we know that you actually won? Well, you can trust me. That's basically the answer that we're being given right now. So what VoteTorrent does is really amazing. Is you take your phone and you download an app called VoteTorrent, and a million other people do the same thing. And the only place the government is involved is they post a data construct out there that says, look, these are the people that have submitted to run. And these other anonymized identities are the people that are eligible to vote in this election. And now what happens is the balloting happens entirely independent of the government. The government does not collect a vote. It does not count a vote. It does not do anything of that nature. The people take their phones, and it forms an ad hoc peer-to-peer Web3 distributed network between all the phones. And there's a cryptographic algorithm. You could think of it as a blockchain, but it's not a blockchain. It's very distributed. It's a web of little individual relationships. And all of our votes get submitted into this distributed database that is shared between all of our phones. And all of these results are cryptographically locked, so nobody can see how the votes are progressing. We just know that they're there. We kind of know who voted, but we don't know how they voted. And then finally, a group of stakeholders in the election, these would be people who are running for office, candidates, officials, well-known people. You'd have maybe 8 or 10 of those people all concur that the time is up. It's time for the election to be counted. They release a cryptographic key out into the cloud, and now all of the ballots can be opened up, but they're opened up across the network in an open way that everybody can audit and everybody can see at once. And we see the results, and everybody can add the results all at once and see who won the election. Now, this is really amazing because you have a little digital ID in your phone that tells you who you are, but nobody else knows that ID. So you can look into the vote totals and you can pull up your vote and you can see how you voted. And so you can make sure that your vote was accurately counted. You also can generate a fingerprint. For those that are programmers, it's called a hash or a checksum. And we can generate a fingerprint on the entire data set. And you could maybe look on the news, for example, and somebody could publish the fingerprint of the vote, and you could look on your phone and say, yep, they are looking at the same set of data. And we're talking about the whole results. They are looking at the whole same results that I'm looking at. And I know that everybody else out there can audit their vote, and I can audit my vote. We're all looking at the same set of votes. And so that's the basic premise behind VoteTorrent. So it really solves 2 of 3 problems in voting. It solves the problem of runoff elections. So now we don't have to have a cartel parties anymore. It solves the integrity of the vote problem. Can we make sure that the votes are being voted accurately? The only thing that we're left with is who is eligible to vote. And it doesn't entirely solve that problem because we still have to have voter rolls. We still have to have a government who says who is eligible to vote. But it goes a long way toward transparency in helping us to see data. So we all have access to the voter rolls, and we're able to see if there are a bunch of anonymized voters. For example, it just doesn't make statistical sense, according to demographics or according to where people live, where population centers are. It will give us a large ability to audit those voter records, even though there's anonymized information, even though there's private information inside the voter records. It will go a long ways toward helping us to solve corrupt governments who are padding their voter rolls with fake voters.